Hey guys, happy Monday. I was trying to come up with a good topic for today's video and I couldn't really think of anything exciting or interesting besides for me just rambling about my day. So I decided to look up some news and see if there's any interesting news stories for today. And while I did find something interesting, we apparently had a plane making an emergency landing at JFK. They were missing the right hand side of their landing gear, and so they made an emergency stop, turning around and landing, and they had to land on the left side landing gear and use the plane wing on the right side to help them come to a stop. And nobody was hurt, which was really good. Emergency landings are really tricky, and I have an uncle who's a pilot, so it was good to know that our pilots are doing a-okay up in the sky with bad problems and things like that. So I was curious about world news after I got looking at some US news, and I wanted to see what kind of world news that the US reports on, because I don't really hear a lot of world news. I mean, when I get a chance, I look in our local paper, and occasionally I'll flip channels, but mostly it's just the really political channels, and I don't feel like watching people argue back and forth. So I thought it would be, kind of safer to look online. So I went to the CNN World News page, and I was surprised to see a lot of the world news stories had to actually do with the US, because, we're over in the Middle East right now, so a lot of the stories were having to do with that. And a lot were with the war, or soldiers over there, and, things of that sort. There were a few interesting stories about other things, like there was a story about the Chile miners that are still trapped, and something about a secret Jewish heritage converts neo-Nazi. I think a neo-Nazi decided to become Jewish, which is actually kind of cool and weird, and probably something cool to have on the news. So, by comparison, I went to the BBC World News page, and I felt like they had a much wider range of stories. That could be because the BBC is technically it's a smaller area, but it's more countries that tune into it than just the US. So, looking up the big important stories over there, I thought it was really cool to learn about a lot of different countries instead of just the Middle East and then down south and maybe a story over here. It was more spread out around the world. They had a story about Cairo, Egypt, and apparently now in Cairo they have female taxi drivers. Now over here that's not something too exciting. I mean, we had our women's rights movement a few decades ago. But over there, it's a really big deal. I mean, females don't really drive taxis, apparently. And actually, I wouldn't really know because we don't have taxis in my town. We do, but, they're not as big as in, New York. But it was really cool to learn that there are now 8 women in Cairo that can drive taxis. And in the article, it said that the women living in Cairo feel more comfortable riding in taxis now because they feel more comfortable with the women driving them. And then there was a story about Romania, which I thought was really exciting. And it was talking about the Romanian interior minister who resigned over a police strike. Apparently, there was a big police strike in Romania, and they were supposedly getting 25% cut out of their pay. And that's a big, hefty chunk. I don't know how much they get paid, but, any kind of pay cut right now with the world economy is kind of sucky. So about 5,000 of the police department decided to do a march. So they had a big protest, and now the interior minister has resigned. You don't really hear about stuff like that over here. So I thought it was really cool to learn about some foreign issues. So my question is, does anybody really watch world news? If you do, where do you watch it? Where do you learn your stories? Do you just look it up online, or log into Google or whatever, and just it happens to be on the news page, signing into MSN? Because I know over here a lot of our news stories are more on the entertainment side. It's Hollywood and things like that. Everybody goes to Perez Hilton, but I don't really hear about people going to CNN and going, "Oh, you hear about what happened in Romania? Gosh, it was so weird." Mostly it's "Hey, you hear about Lindsay Lohan? She's high again. Yeah, she's going back to jail." So, what kind of news do you like to listen to? Do you want to hear more about world news, or are you okay with just learning about us? I mean, we have a lot to deal with right now with our economy and the way things are. But let me know what you think. I thought it was really cool to see the difference, and I'm really glad that I watch a lot of British stuff because I get to know more than we do. But I'm not gonna knock ours because I did learn a thing or two. So let me know what you think. Have a good night.